Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Brianna and this is For Pause in a Book. I make book and lifestyle related content a couple of times a week. Today we're going to be talking about a couple of things that you can do to help with your reading if you have ADHD. I do want to first put the disclaimer out there that I am not officially diagnosed with ADHD. I do have a lot of the symptoms. I have done the self-check. I tick off a lot of boxes. However, healthcare in America sucks. And getting a therapist or getting a referral for a therapist that is A, in my network for my insurance, which is really, really crappy, and B, is taking new clients in this global panini that we are currently in, is proving to be more difficult than I'm several months away from this happening. However, there's a whole other conversation that we could be having about self-diagnosis. That's like, I have a lot to talk about on that, and it's enough that I could do a whole other video on. So if that's something that you're interested in, please let me know, and I totally will. But I don't want to take up this video with that information, so I'll do an extra one if you want me to talk about it. It is ADHD Awareness Month, and so I figured this would be a good time to talk about this. It all kind of boils down to the fact that self-diagnosis is valid as long as you are open to the possibility that you might be wrong. That a certified professional in mental health may say that you have something different, and you have to be able to accept that once you get an official diagnosis. But you're the one in your head, which is scary sometimes. But you know what you're going through, and you probably know better than a lot of other people. So self-diagnosis is valid, especially for something like ADHD or another type of neurodivergence. Of course, a clinical diagnosis is great because then you can get medication if that's something that you're interested in. But if you resonate with the symptoms of ADHD and the if the tricks or the hacks work for you, great. If you're able to open up those resources because you've self-diagnosed as someone with ADHD or with any type of neurodivergency, or even any type of mental health, general anxiety, depression, whatever. Again, you know your own body and you know your own mind probably better than anyone else. So for me, let's not gatekeep. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about some things that work for me as someone who most likely has ADHD. And now that disclaimer is out of the way, let's talk about it. I do have 5 tips that you can use. Hopefully this helps you. I went from barely reading anything because I got so distracted and, something would, take my mind away, or I would feel guilty because I needed to do the dishes or whatever it was, rather than sit down and read a book. I went from that when I was in college, and even post-grad, to 2018 was the first year that I read 100 books, and I have consistently read 100 books every year. I'm already at 112 for this year, so on track again. So I've kind of implemented these things over the past couple of years, and they work for me, and hopefully they'll work for you too. The first thing that I want to talk about is fidget toys. Now, the thing with ADHD is not that you're hyperactive. Of course, that's kind of the stereotype, but especially with women or with girls, it doesn't really portray that way. It just kind of comes off as distancing and disassociating and just basically getting in your own head. So sometimes having something to fidget with lets your body do whatever it's going to do while you focus on the book or the story, the page, whatever. So often when I'm physically reading a book, I will either read the same page 3 times because I don't know what's going on, or I forgot that I read it already, or read 10 pages and realize that I don't know what happened, and it wasn't the book's fault, it was mine. So that's when I know that my brain is kind of wandering off, and I need something to kind of either ground myself. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. So these are my 2 favorite ones, but there are tons. There are things like fidget spinners, poppers, honestly, bubble wrap works great if you're by yourself and it's not annoying to somebody else. But these are my two favorites. The first one is my Fidget Cube. I love this thing. I use it all the time. I specifically like something that I can do with one hand, because then I can like also be reading my book and I can be holding it, turning pages and things like that. So I will literally just kind of unfold this, fold it back up, and I will do this for so long and I won't even realize that I'm doing it. I have one at home and I have one at work, because I also, when I'm reading reports and things like that, I will also have one. Love this thing. Got it on Amazon. I'll link it down below. And then the other one thing that I love is my ring. I wear it literally all the time. You can actually see like I have an indentation on my finger from it. I have this one, and I also have a spinny one, but this one is by far my favorite. I always have this on me. I actually discovered that I like something small like this because I will also do it when I'm talking, especially when I'm teaching or speaking. And I found myself teaching a class that I was teaching like for the third time in a week. So like my brain was checked out because I had already done this. And I found myself playing with a binder clip for like 15 minutes until the binder clip broke. That's when I got these. So this way I could kind of just mess with this as I was teaching my class, and you know, I still could be focused, but works really well for reading too. So I think I got this one on Amazon or on Etsy, but it'll be linked down below as well. The second trick or the second hack is to really set up your environment or your like space for success. So that means like maybe getting all your chores done first. If you know that you are the type of person that's like, oh wait, can't sit down to read, have to go fold the laundry, whatever. So maybe that's that. But then also, like, if you do have a set dedicated time for reading, which I try to do every night, like for about an hour before I go to bed, I just dedicate that hour to reading. And so I really want to make sure that I'm setting up my space and also like myself for success. So like my body, I will have like specific clothes that I don't love. A lot of people with ADHD have some sort of sensory issue, or like something bugs them. For me, it's that like if these shirts, if they have a tag on the side of the like where on the side of your body, bugs the crap out of me. And also I really don't like reading in jeans because they're not comfortable when you're like cuddled up, so I want leggings. Beyond that, the room around me, the noise, the distraction levels have to be at a minimum. Most of the time in the evenings, in the living room, the TV is on. Like we're watching a show, even if we're like just haphazardly watching it, it's on generally. And unfortunately, I do not read well when that happens. Even if it's not a show that I'm interested in, or if it's a show I've watched 100 times, I will inevitably start watching the show and then come back to my book. And then, so I don't read that much because then I end up having to read the same page again and I get lost and distracted, whatever. So for me, ASMR rooms are where it's at. You can YouTube literally anything. So if like whatever vibe you want, go for it. I prefer coffee shops because there's like a little bit of white noise in the back. You can kind of hear like the muffled conversations. You can hear this like jazz music. And it's great. I get very productive. You do have to be careful though. And you can't have the same ASMR room that you have for your productivity that you do to go to sleep. I did learn this the hard way because otherwise you turn on rain sounds, even though you normally listen to rain sounds when you go to sleep, you will get tired and it doesn't work. So I have separate playlists. I have a reading and writing playlist, which I'll link up there if you would like it. And then I also have like some rain, just like straight rain or wind or things like that, and that's what I use to sleep, but I cannot cross them, so keep that in mind because your brain will get confused. Hack number 3 for me is to set up some sort of like check-off list or reward system, whatever it is that you need to like basically give yourself serotonin as you finish a book. This is particularly useful for things like group books when you have to read them, because honestly, let's be honest, generally when you have to read a book, it all of a sudden becomes the least interesting book in the world and you don't want to pick it up. So this works for group books, for tomes, whatever, or just whatever book. Give yourself some sort of reward. Now, this doesn't have to be like a physical reward, but it can be. So, for instance, I might say, okay, I'm going to read 20 pages and then I'll watch 5 TikToks. and then I'll read 20 pages, and then I'll watch 5 TikToks. You kind of get to break things up. That's why the Pomodoro method of timing yourself works really great, because you do 20 to 25 minutes and then 5 minutes off, and 20 to 25 minutes and 5 minutes off. That's why that works really well. It could also be like something like you're going to get up and go get a snack after X amount of pages. And then also what I like to do, I use Todoist for literally everything in my life, and I'm planning on doing another video on that and how I use it in my life. But one of the things that I do is use it for my books. And so I have my book as a task, but then within the task, I have 25%, 50%, 75%, and I get to check off the little subtexts or subtasks as I get to that point. So it's a little bit of a reward system. Going back to timing yourself, body doubling is a great hack for people with ADHD or autism. Now, what is body doubling, you might ask? That's literally finding another person and working alongside them. They don't have to be doing the thing that you're doing. They don't have to be helping you. Nothing like that. It's just okay, I need to read for an hour, and I just need you to sit there and do your own thing. It works great. This is why reading sprints on BookTube have blown up in the recent past year or so, probably. I think it really started with writing sprints, especially during NaNoWriMo. It's the same concept. You're body doubling is what you're doing. You're kind of competing with someone, because you get to the end and you're like, well, I have to tell them that I read X amount of pages, and I don't want to look like I was slacking. So there's that aspect to it, that competitiveness to it, but also just the fact that someone is sitting there with you as you do your work. For some reason, it works. So that's hack number 4. Hack number 5 has to do with audiobooks. Now, a lot of people with ADHD actually don't like audiobooks, and that's perfectly fine and perfectly valid. Again, you know your brain better than anyone else does. But over 50% of my reading is actually done via audio, and I guess I've kind of found what works. I definitely did not always like audiobooks, but I'm finding, again, what works for me personally. So there's a couple of things that I do while listening to an audiobook. Now, for me, because of this, I actually can focus more on audiobooks than I can physically, generally. There's things that you have to do while listening to an audiobook that allow you to focus. You cannot just stick your headphones in and stare at a wall and listen to an audiobook. It doesn't work that way. But on the flip side of that coin, you can't be doing too much that then the audiobook becomes white noise. There has to be a happy medium of almost like a mindless task, which allows you to focus on the audiobook. Again, kind of like doing something like this, it allows your body to do something so that your mind can focus on the book. So, for me, I do a ton of my audiobook listening while I'm driving. It allows me to focus on driving. I have the same commute every single day. So I don't have to worry about which exit to get off of. I don't have to focus on any of that. I only have to focus on the drivers around me and how fast I'm going and that kind of stuff. My drive is pretty much the same every single day. There's also times where I have to drive to St. George, which is a 3.5-hour drive, but it's down the same freeway. Or I have to drive to Boise, and there's one freeway change in the 4.5 hours that I'm driving. So pretty standard, pretty set drive. I can listen very, very well while I'm doing those things because it's a little bit of other tasks, but mostly listening to the audiobook. However, if I'm driving in LA traffic, definitely not going to be listening to an audiobook. Cannot focus on it. Does not work at all. Especially if I was listening to a high fantasy or trying to figure out some science fiction world building. Doesn't work. And then if I'm at home, there are some things that I like to do, again, mindless tasks, I guess is the easiest thing. Putting a puzzle together, playing some sort of game on my phone that's not a quest adventure huge game. Can't do that. But things like, Tetris or 2048, favorite game ever, and all of its iterations. But those are games that are easy. Building Sims houses, love to do that while I listen to audiobooks, and I feel like that really, really helps. Finding some sort of happy medium. I also really like doing it while I'm cleaning. So if I'm doing laundry, that's a great task to listen to an audiobook too, especially if you really hate laundry. It makes laundry better. See, I've got all the ideas today. So that is an easy way to kind of let your mind wander a little bit without getting completely lost from the audiobook and it becoming white noise. So those are 5 like actual tips and things to do to try to like get through a book when you can't focus on it. And the other thing I do want to mention, and I talked about this a little bit when I was talking about reading slumps, and this kind of is a little bit of that because I feel like sometimes people with ADHD have all these like mini reading slumps. And they're not slumps that go on for weeks and months or whatever, although they can. But sometimes it's just like for a day, the dopamine is not in that book. Or maybe it's just that the dopamine is not in that specific book. A lot of people with ADHD are mood readers. And now I have never really been able to succeed at doing this. I do have to have some sort of structure, otherwise you kind of have that decision paralysis. So on the flip side of that, but I am kind of allowing myself some sort of grace with my TBR and being able to substitute books out for it without any like punishment or anything like that. Because just sometimes like I don't want to read the book. I want to read, but I don't want to read that book. And that's okay. So allow yourself to follow the dopamine, whether that means not reading that night, because don't force it. If it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. You're just going to force a reading slump if you try to force yourself to read. It doesn't work. But also it could just mean that you don't want to read that book. And that's okay. Pick up another book. That's fine. I've done that quite a bit. That's why I have so many substitutions in my TBRs. I hope this helps you. If you have ADHD or you think you have ADHD and you have some other tips and tricks, please leave them down in the comments below. And if you're looking for some more resources, read the comments. Maybe they'll help you. I will try to put some resources down in the description box as well. And if you're new here and you have not yet subscribed, there's a little red button that you can do so down below the video. And all the other links to my social media will be in the description below if you would like to be my friend on any other platform. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.